Alright, hello everyone, it's Happy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Tiger 1. This is of course one of the more or less legendary tanks of World War II, and we have this tank in World of Tanks Blitz. Now the question is this tank as good as it was in real life, basically during the Second World War? And we're going to be answering this question. Now, I'm playing a live game at the same time, so I may be a little bit off-put or a little bit less focused sometimes, but that is because, again, I'm playing a live game. Now, firstly, I also want to compare this tank to, for example, the M7 Yo. We're getting shot from the side, amazing. The Black Prince, and of course the IS-2, because I feel like these tanks are more or less, you know, this tank's main, comparison, or this tank's main opposition, because the other tier 7 tanks are not going to be as good as the Black Prince, M7 Yo, or the IS-2. At least these are the more or less common and decent tanks at tier 7, disregarding the premiums and collectibles like the Smasher and the Annihilator. Right? So if we're going to be comparing the Tiger 2, firstly, the gun on this tank is very, very good. Now, the weapon handling isn't that amazing. You'd think that this tank would have amazing weapon handling, but the aim time is actually not that amazing. It's the same as the Black Prince, but the M7 Yo and the IS-2 actually have better aim time. Now, the dispersion, however, on this tank is better than all three other tanks. So that's actually pretty decent. Now, when it comes to the DPM, this tank has pretty good DPM as well. 2,411 is the number we're looking at. However, the Black Prince is obviously going to be beating the Tiger 1 in that regard. But overall, compared to other tier 7 heavies, this tank actually has pretty good DPM. This tank has better DPM than a lot of tier 8 heavies in general. So I think that is a very big positive. Now, the penetration is also something worthwhile mentioning. The base penetration on the Tiger 1 is going to be 203 millimeters. That is a lot. Now, that is a lot. And of course, the reload time is going to be just under 5.5 seconds with an alpha of 220. So you're going to be shredding a lot of tanks, especially tier 6s, very easily. And that's obviously a good thing. I really like the Tiger for its DPM. It's pretty good for that. And I also like the Tiger for its, pretty good dispersion. The only thing I would complain about this tank is the aim time. It is not that good, but then again, I can see why the developers needed to, more or less balance this tank out a bit. Now, when it comes to the mobility, this tank actually has some pretty good mobility. 44 kilometers forward is actually pretty decent, and, it moves around very nicely. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Moving around in this tank feels very good and satisfying. That is a key word I'm going to be using. It's very satisfying. I'm in a sticky situation here. I'm pretty much being kind of flanked around, but that's good because we can take this guy out with a shot. And anyway, we were talking about the mobility, and here the mobility is better than a lot of other heavies in the same tier. And yet we're always seeing in movies, etc., how the Tiger is, quite a slow tank. In the game, that's not necessarily the reality. We're kind of speeding ahead of other heavies. Not saying we have medium level mobility, but it's still pretty good mobility. Now, lastly, when it comes to the armor, this tank does not have amazing armor. I'm going to be frank, a lot of other tanks with good penetration will be able to smash us up. Maybe an IS-2, like the Soviet IS-2, will struggle against us if we, kind of more or less angle our tank around. But other tanks with, around 200 millimeters of penetration will be able to smack the Tiger up with ease. Again, in history, it was known that the Tiger was good for its armor. In-game, because we have a lot of tanks with high penetration, the Tiger 1's armor is not going to be that good. I can actually see the enemy Hellcat that was in the corner capping. That means he won't shoot me and spot me while I'm crossing here, so I can kill this Vazé quite quickly. As you can see here, that's something I just wanted to note right there. As you can see, the Hellcat literally was spotting, and so we can easily, kill the enemy tank. That's a big F up from the Hellcat. Anyway, The armor is pretty decent against tier 6 tanks and a low penetration tier 7 tanks like a lot of mediums maybe and lights. And so This tank is also good for newer players because newer players will be able to more or less, learn how to angle the tank. And I feel like this is a perfect tank to teach the newer players how to angle their tank properly. Like, that's going to be very, very useful. And I really value that about the Tiger 1. Now, another thing I want to mention is I just shredded these guys up. Like, literally, I came behind them and I shredded them up. But another thing is that this tank looks insane. And, overall, it's just a solid tank. That's how I'm going to be wrapping this video up. Tell me what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And with that, happy is out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.